My topic is leveraging lean logistics to lead in the 21st century. And I've been doing this one for a couple years. It's one of my most popular presentations. And I'm certainly looking forward to an engaging opportunity. I know sometimes this is a challenge online. Just a couple of quick notes. I'd like to remind everyone, please be on mute for your audio. And although I say please be on mute, always assume you are not. All right, that's a good strategy with Zoom, GoToMeetings. Always assume your video and audio are on. I just think that's a good tip for persons. So if I will be looking for questions or comments, it's appreciated if you enter them into the chat. I think that's the most convenient way to facilitate that. And I will be posing questions to the audience. So be ready to enter your questions or comments into chat. And I'll be checking with John. I'll trust him to monitor that for me. And I thank everyone in advance for contributing to the discussion. Thank you, John, for mentioning I do work for myself with TQM Works Consulting. I am a master Apex instructor with Greater North Jersey, a chapter that's 180 miles away. I am in the humble village of Port Crane, New York, which you've never heard of. It's just outside of Binghamton, which maybe you've heard of. And if not, I'm about halfway between New York City and Buffalo. I additionally work as an adjunct for different Penn State campuses and State University of New York campuses. This is the agenda that we will cover by 1 p.m. We're going to start out with what is logistics and what is its goal. Hey, get you thinking right now. That's going to be the first couple questions I ask, so you can already start entering into chat if you have answers for either of those questions. We'll discuss some of the barriers to lean. And it's not just barriers to lean logistics. It's probably similar to barriers in any situation where you attempt to implement lean. I'll discuss some techniques for lean warehousing, how we have trade-offs with lean. It's not a perfect solution. Some lean material handling and storage techniques, designing for logistics, so setting up our systems. And of course, we appreciate the value of a lean, green environment, sustainability via reverse logistics. All right, let me start out with a little video clip that I have from YouTube. And I'd also like to ask if you have an answer to this question. What is logistics? Please type that into the chat right now. If you have an answer or a suggestion, what does logistics mean to you? And it doesn't have to be a formal dictionary definition. Just what does that mean to you? So what is logistics? Please type your responses to that in the chat room. And I will now play a video. And I also want you to think about some of the things you hear during this video. Try and remember some of the taglines or key concepts.
Logistics makes the world work better.
When it's planes in the sky for a chain of supply, that's logistics. When the parts for the line come precisely on time, that's logistics. A continuous link that is always in sync, that's logistics. Carbon footprint reduced, bottom line gets a boost, that's logistics. With new ways to compete, there'll be cheers on Wall Street, that's logistics. When technology knows right where everything goes, that's logistics. Bells will ring, ring-a-ding, 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 that's logistics. There will be no more stress calls you called UPS, that's logistics.
All right, John, do we have
today's the day
that's in the chat for suggested answers there?
Tom Myers says transportation. I'll kick in saying at a minimum going from point A to point B. Obviously, that's not a complete one. Anyone else want to jump into this?
Anything we heard during the video? I liked how they mentioned carbon footprint reduced. They said a continuous loop. I really like they mentioned a customer smile on their face.
Hey, I got two more in here: supply chain management and delivering solutions.
Very good. Thank you for that. And I actually like this question as a lead off to any of the courses I teach, whether it's APIC certification or Penn State supply chain management courses. I start off and I say, please help me to understand the distinction between logistics, supply chain management, operations management, because I've heard these terms sort of, interchanged as if they're kind of the same thing, and there is some interlap. I will refer to the official APICS dictionary for those of us studying for our exam. Once you pass the exam, you don't care about these definitions anymore, right? And it's a rather long-winded definition, so I'll cut it down here. A subset of supply chain management that controls the forward and reverse movement, handling, and storage of goods between origin and distribution points. So what I like to do is when I describe things to my courses, I think, well, here's overall supply chain management. That is the end-to-end forward and backward supply chain. Operations management is within any company or within any node of the supply chain. And then logistics is what happens between the nodes of the supply chain. So there's overall end-to-end supply chain. Operations management occurs within a company, and logistics is all the transactions and flows between companies. So I sort of like that approach. And thank you very much for those contributions. And we'll say let's keep those coming as we go through the presentation. Now, if anybody wishes to enter something, the next opportunity, what do you think the goal of logistics is? So looking for any suggestions here in the chat, and John, you may feed those to me as they come in. What do you think the goal of logistics? We know what it is now. We know it's all those transfers and flows and activities that occur between all of the companies within an end-to-end supply chain. So what is the goal? Maybe we're thinking of The Goal. That was Eli Goldratt, his novel back in 1984. Wow, 37 years ago, and still a major reference text for lots of MBA programs.
By the way, Antoinette just posted delivery of goods, right time and right place.
Fantastic. It's the delivery of goods to the right place at the right time. Any additional comments before I reveal?
Yeah, Tom Myers jumped in with get it delivered at the lowest cost, so he just stole my thunder.
There you go. We've got those greedy capitalists here. Well, and I've of course
within budget.
There.
By the way, Mike, Alex says within budget.
Within budget. Thank you. All right. Yeah, I like. It's interesting. Sometimes we say within budget or lowest cost. Well, it's not always the lowest cost. If we does anyone remember the Midas? It was Fram Auto Parts commercials. It used to say you could pay us now or pay us later, meaning don't go with the cheapest part. So it's not always the cheapest or lowest cost. Let me move ahead here with something I'm going to suggest: the 9 R's of the perfect order. And certainly any of us who have pursued the certifications on different courses, you may have heard of the 4 R's, the 5 R's, or the 6 R's, the things you got to get right. I created what I call the 9 R's of the perfect order. There are multiple things you need to get right. And I'm going to share a PDF of the slideshow so you don't have to write all of these things down. You know, you'll get a copy of the PDF version. I say to get the 9 R's, the perfect order. It's 3 separate things you got to get right that all have 3 rights associated with them. And the first one is it has to be the perfect shipment. Okay, when it leaves your company's dock or the supplier's dock, it's got to be the right quality and the right quantity of the right item. The perfect shipment is followed by the perfect delivery. It was at the right time in the right place to the right person or department. And I add that to the right place because I remember a company I worked at in Binghamton. We had 7 different facilities in the Binghamton, New York area. And then even at some facilities, we had multiple receiving docks and then different destinations they could go from that dock. So it's not just right place. It's then got to go to either the right, whether it's receiving or getting shipped to the floor or goes to the office to some individual. The perfect order is completed by the perfect experience, which means we charged the right price. The billing was accurate. There was all the right documentation, whether that's packing list, instructions, warranty, if it's software that comes with the product, and then the right level of customer service. And I mentioned the right price. It's not always the lowest. Well, the right customer service is not 100%. I would humbly suggest if you're trying to provide 100% customer service, you will go out of business. All right. So within our certification programs, we talk about customer service levels in terms of fill rates. What percentage of orders ship out from stock? Now, I know there are times when people will disagree with me when I suggest less than 100% customer service. Please appreciate, friends, if you wanted everything to be available to ship immediately from inventory, you would need a warehouse about the size of the state of Pennsylvania. And that's really not true. You'd need an infinite inventory. So it's just not going to happen. All right. So again, from my own experience, I worked at a distribution center. Our target was 96% fill rates. And our warehouse had $36 million worth of inventory. We did a calculation that said if we wanted to get from 96 to 98%, we'd have to double that to $72 million worth of inventory. Just to add 2 percentage points more fill rate. So it's the right level of customer service. Hey, typically, it's what's appropriate for your competitive environment. Beat the competition. So the perfect order, perfect shipment, perfect delivery, perfect experience. Hey, get rid of all those metrics and meetings and colorized bar charts. This is one thing. If you're in manufacturing or distribution, this is the only metric you need, friends. Put a lot of managers out of work who just are busy generating reports. This is what should drive your business. Can we think of any barriers to lean logistics or in general? What are the barriers that inhibit lean implementations in any type of environment? I'm specifically talking logistics, but it could be any type of environment. I've certainly heard about lean office. I've heard of lean healthcare. I've heard of lean government. Yeah, I've heard of it. I've never seen it, but can anybody think what barriers do you encounter if you've ever been part of a lean implementation?
I'm going to guess bureaucratic resistance, since the bureaucracy strives to sustain itself.
Yep. The status quo mindset, you know, people feel threatened. Yeah. I'm going to start revealing these. If anybody has any suggestions, feel free to enter them into the chat. And John, feel free to interrupt me and just mention them. So this is one I've heard a lot. Lean is for manufacturing. No, lean is for any place where you have waste. And I defy anyone to show me an environment that does not have waste. People say, oh, we're special. Oh, lean won't work here. I concede you are right. If the mindset of your company is it won't work here, you're right, it won't. But if you believe it will work. And that's why I think the greatest challenge isn't technical, it's cultural. It could be of the metrics we have in place. There are traditional metrics that are dysfunctional and inspire bad behavior. In this first one, I've even seen and taught in supply chain courses, and I'm embarrassed to say within APIC certification, we teach cube utilization as a metric. That's embarrassing. Cube utilization says, well, if your warehouse holds 10,000 pallets and you've got 9,000 pallets of inventory in there, that's 90% cube utilization. Hey, you're wasting space. Oh, really? I guess I'll go out and buy a couple truckloads of crap I don't need just to fill up my warehouse. Now, I'm not saying you should waste real estate and waste space, but once you've bought the land, build a warehouse, once it's there, it is what it is, friends. This is just as dysfunctional as machine utilization. If it's not a bottleneck, just saying running a machine, that's not helping your company unless you need the parts it's producing. Purchase price variance, that's when you use a standard cost system and say, well, this widget costs $1 in my inventory system. And if I buy some widgets for 99 cents, that's a positive purchase price variance. This is dysfunctional, friends. The best way to get a lower price is to buy extra inventory. Every company I've worked at, either as a regular employee or as a consultant / trainer that utilizes PPV, has excess inventory. No shock. You encourage purchasing to buy too much to get a lower price. I've seen pick rate utilized at different warehouses or distribution centers. That's how many cases per hour. You are providing a financial incentive for order selectors to pick the wrong part, pick the wrong quantity, and damage the product and load it on the wrong truck. Take your time, do it right. That was a hit single by the SOS band in 1980. I still have the 45. For those of you who don't know what that means, look up vinyl. Pick rate is dysfunctional. The perfect order is what we're concerned with. Beating the forecast is dysfunctional. You are providing a financial incentive for your salespeople to create a lowball forecast. That's easy for them to beat. If they think they're going to sell 1,000 in the month of November, well, they're going to forecast 900. Now they sell 1,000 easily because that was the real forecast, and you're going to give them a sales bonus for that? You should reward them for attaining the forecast. It's bad to miss it, whether it's high or low. Because think about this. They forecast 900. Production planned capacity to build 900. Purchasing planned raw materials for 900. Human resources planned staff so that we had enough employees to build 900. Now everybody's got to expedite, work overtime, do FedEx overnight express shipment, and you're rewarding somebody for that. The last one is the focus on financials. I am a capitalist. It's important to make money, but focus on quality and taking care of the customer. If you focus on financials, this is what my mother used to say as being, I believe it was called penny wise and pound foolish was an expression she used. I think pound referred to the British pound. Or I could put it in American currency. You're wasting dollars to find pennies. So don't have too much focus on financials. You focus on other things, the financial results will be there. Before I go to the next slide, John, do we have any questions or comments that have come in?
No, we're clean and green.
Thank you, sir. Some lean warehousing approaches. Dock to stock. This suggests when something is received at my dock, I don't have to inspect it. I don't have to open it up. I don't have to count the parts. I'm using what we may say are certified suppliers. I trust them. Whatever the label says, I know that's in the box. So I can immediately put it away and skip receiving inspection. Even better, dock to dock. It goes from the receiving dock to the shipping dock. I don't even inventory it. And one distribution center I worked at, we were trying to implement this, at least as far on back orders, things that were overdue. Our historical approach was things got received. We had to put it away to inventory. And then every hour on the hour, we do a pick for outstanding orders. So it'd have to sit in inventory for maybe up to an hour and then get picked and go out the door. We had our IT people, the help desk, write code that said, anything at receiving that there's an open order on, don't bother putting it away. Send it straight to the shipping dock. So dock to dock, in one door, out the other. See, inventory is not a bad thing, folks. It's only bad when it's sitting still. When inventory is moving, you're making money. When inventory collects dust, you're losing money. How about the concept of drop and hook? My dad was a truck driver, so I'm familiar with this. Drop and hook says the driver backs up to the dock, drops the trailer, picks up another one, hooks to it, and takes it back, as opposed to waiting around for them to unload that trailer. You know, so why pay a truck driver to sit there while you're unloading the truck? Have the other truck ready to go back. And in fact, I should say trailer. And in fact, as opposed to an empty trailer, a backhaul. In other words, stuff that's moving it back to the point of origin. Hey, let's skip the warehouse and do a drop ship. One company I worked at, my major supplier was in Japan. I was working in Binghamton, New York. My major supplier is in Japan, and I'm buying parts from Japan to come to Binghamton, New York, where we would then ship them to customers that might be in Singapore, South Korea. We're like, holy smokes, are these parts getting frequent flyer mileage? So we said, hey, how about we just tell my supplier in Japan to ship them straight to my customer in South Korea? And eventually now this leads to the concept of virtual warehousing. Why do I need a facility in Binghamton, New York? How come Mike Ford can't just sit home in Port Crane and just manage transactions? Why do I even need a warehouse? I do have to note, we talk about the barriers to lean. Well, think about when we started this conversation, what a threat it was to my coworkers. Like, holy smokes, everybody in this warehouse is going to be out of a job. And I said, no, not everybody, because Mike Ford is fully on board with this. Mike Ford wants to help implement and do this. They're not going to fire everybody. They're going to keep people on board. And I would also say this, one of the things about lean when we think it's a threat to our job, well, I'll tell you what's a threat to your job, not going lean. Thinking that you can keep people in non-value added positions, doing non-value added tasks that just add cost without adding value, that's not a way to keep a job. That's the way to go out of business. Let me ask if there have been any comments or questions, John?
Nope, no additions.
Thank you. All right. I love quoting The Economist, Dr. Thomas Sowell. If you don't know him, I recommend you look him up. Brilliant man. Dr. Thomas Sowell has said, there are no solutions to the problems we face. There are only trade-offs. Think about what I said with, Fram Auto Parts, buying the cheapest part. Or do we want 100% customer service? What does that cost in terms of inventory? So there are lean trade-offs. Lean says smaller lot size. Well, that means you're going to have more deliveries. Instead of getting it once every couple months, maybe it's once a month or once a week or once a day. Well, go talk to your friends on the receiving dock. See how happy they are when they're Ford. I just put this part away Monday and Tuesday, and now we're getting it again Wednesday. Go, yeah, it's a smaller quantity. Well, they're going to say, that doesn't help me, Ford. I got to walk up the aisle and put it on a shelf or drive a forklift up there. It doesn't matter to me if it was 1 box or 100. You're not helping me by making it a smaller lot size. Okay, there are trade-offs. We understand that and we recognize that. We also have one of my favorite concepts, conflicting objectives. And in a second, I'm going to tell you why I love conflicting objectives. Let's say our focus is operations efficiency. Well, operations efficiency loves large lots. Buy a large lot size, you get a good price. You're shipping a full truckload, low transportation cost. And it's only one time the person has to put it away, maybe once a month or once every couple months, put a pallet away in a stock location. That's real efficient. But that conflicts with low inventory investment. This balance between small lots and more deliveries or internal processing transactions. And also think about this, operations efficiency. How many different products would you want? If you were selfish, if you worked in a distribution center and you were selfish from your point of view, efficient logistical operations inside of a warehouse, how much product do you want? You only want one stock number. You don't have to keep track of locations. It's one part. Part 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's my whole warehouse. From your selfish point of view, that's the easiest way to do things. And I should point same way on a production floor. If you're looking from the selfish point of view of efficient production, you only want to make one widget. And you don't want any engineering changes on that widget until 3 weeks after you retire from the company. But this conflicts with high customer service. Our friends in customer service want you to offer 1 billion different widgets, every make, model, color, packaging option. They want an infinite supply of an infinite different number of items. The conflicting objectives between operations efficiency, low inventory investment, and high customer service. I mentioned I'm happy for these conflicting objectives. Why? If there were no conflicting objectives, I wouldn't be in the line of work I am. And most of you wouldn't either. Materials management would be a breeze. If there weren't any conflicts, most of us would be totally out of work. Well, how can we eliminate trade-offs? You probably can't totally eliminate them, but lean approaches, the elimination of waste, can minimize the conflict between these objectives. So implement lean to minimize the effect of trade-offs. I'm not sure we'll ever totally eliminate those. Some suggestions with regard to lean material handling and storing. And I like to think that I can comment on this because of the fact that I do have a lot of warehouse experience. So I've been out there on second and third shift. It's interesting. I have some friends and associates that are in similar lines of work, doing consulting or teaching APICS or other courses. And other than walking through the warehouse to get to the break room or something, they've never done work there. So on the introductory slide, you may have noticed I've got 9 professional credentials, internationally recognized certifications. I am much more proud of the fact that I've spent years working in warehouses or distribution centers. I've worked in the receiving office, the shipping office, the dispatch office. I have worked on the receiving dock. I've done order selecting. I've done put away. I've done pick, pack, and ship. I've gone along with driver deliveries as a driver's helper. So I just say when I hear people talking about warehouse design or lean material handling techniques, I wish to know how many shifts they put in that they walked out of work and the sun was rising. When I talk lean warehouse design, I think about the fact, whether I'm talking a stock room, a warehouse, distribution center, any place where we inventory parts, the number one mistake that is made, the architect or whoever designed the facility designs it to hold inventory. And that's the number one mistake. You say, but Ford, that's what a warehouse does, or a stock room, or a distribution center, or a parts room. It's holding inventory. That's not what it's designed for. It's designed for flow. Remember what I said. When inventory sits still, you're losing money. When it moves, you make money. You should design any stockroom, warehouse, etc., to facilitate receiving, put away, order selection, and shipment. You should design it for movement. Let me do an analogy here that might make sense. Imagine if the traffic patterns or the streets or the intersections in your town were designed like a parking lot as opposed for traffic flow. And some of you are going, Ford, I think that's what the city planners did in my town. It's not a parking lot. It's a traffic intersection or it's streets. It's supposed to be designed for traffic flow, not for cars to be parked. That's the way warehouses should be designed. And I see so many mistakes. I go, whoever designed this never picked orders, never put away product in their life. We have a choice with our location schemes. Do we want fixed, random versus the zone approach? A fixed location scheme suggests we have very stable inventory. We've been buying and selling the same products for decades, and this product's always in the same location. Random is more appropriate when we have seasonality or trends or short product life cycles. There's always new products with new demand patterns. Random means every time you receive something, it just gets put away in whatever convenient open spot there is. Zone is a combination of that. It means that the product must go within this zone or this area or this part of the stock room, but then it can be random within that. As an example, a zone, when I worked for a grocery wholesaler, we had dry grocery, we had dairy, we had meat, we had produce. In fact, 2 produce rooms, a wet produce room and a dry produce room. And we had 2 freezers, one that was at 20 degrees and a freezer at 0 degrees. So depending on the nature of the product, it had to go into one of those zones. But then it could be random within that. I've heard a lot of people advocate random because it helps so much with cube utilization and it's more convenient. Well, it depends on your product. All right. So again, you don't need an expert with a college degree and certification. You need somebody who's worked there and understands the product. We have opportunities for technology. And I love technology because technology improves simultaneously both speed and accuracy. And I have some friends going nuts. They're saying, oh, this automation, it's destroying jobs. Really? This is the same stuff we heard back in the 40s and 50s and 60s. Oh, automation on the floor is going to put people out of work. Friends, please take a look all over the planet. Who has a better economy? Who's got higher employment levels? Advanced nations that have extensive use of the Internet of Things and robots? Or some developing country where farming is done by a man pushing a plow behind a donkey? Who's got higher employment levels? Technology always creates more jobs. Now, a particular job might disappear, but multiple new jobs will appear. So using technology to handle transactions improves an economy. I've got the 3,000-year record of civilization backing me up on that. That's a hell of a sample size. One of the great examples I've witnessed, I had an opportunity to tour a Wegmans produce distribution center in Pottsville, Pennsylvania. Some of you say, Oh, that sounds like Yingling beer. Yes, that is where the Yingling original brewery is. But right up the road, there is a Wegmans grocery store's produce distribution center, and they use voice recognition technology. That's beyond barcoding and RFID. The warehouse order selectors all have those headsets, like you see at the drive-through at the fast food place, and they hear over the system. Pick 5 cases of bananas. Send to dock location A5. And they confirm, yes, confirm pick, or no, was short, or something like that. And it's not just no paperwork. They don't have to do any scanning. It's totally voice recognition technology. Very fast, very accurate. And we may have some degree of automated storage and retrieval systems known by ASRS, the acronym, such as automated carousel systems. I've seen systems that have robots doing picks and delivering between departments on a production floor. I've seen robots delivering the office mail in office buildings. And then we have our computer systems, fully functional enterprise resource planning systems that have modules for transportation management systems, warehouse management systems, customer relationship management, supplier relationship management, and collaborative planning, forecasting, and replenishment. Something that Walmart and Procter & Gamble are recognized as being one of the early leaders on. I'm not sure if it was late 80s or early 90s where Walmart and Procter & Gamble decided to partner because they recognized it wasn't business-to-business competition. And I hope we're all long past this. It's not business-to-business competition. It's your supply chain versus the competitor's supply chain. So by working with Procter & Gamble and other manufacturers, Walmart streamlined its supply chain, increased its velocity, reduced variability, and increased visibility. Sears beat Walmart and Kmart, not as a matter of them being Sears is better than Walmart, or Sears is better than, or excuse me, Walmart is better than Sears or Kmart. It's because Walmart had the superior supply chain. And you look now, why is Amazon winning? It's not Amazon beating Walmart. It's Amazon's supply chain beating Walmart's supply chain. Got to take a holistic view, friends. Any comments or questions, John?
No additional comments.
Thank you, sir. All right, we have design for logistics, which is part of the broader category of what I call DFX, where X is a variable, and there's so many DFXs. From the initial point, you know, you've got the mad scientist in a chemistry lab. He's coming up with some new product, and he's thinking about something, and he invents a new product. Right at that point in time, right at the point where you start thinking of a brand new product, we should be thinking, wow, how do we source the raw materials and components? Can we effectively and efficiently bring in the raw materials? How do we build the product? Do we have the processing technologies? Do we have the equipment? Do our operators have the skill sets? Can we build it in a way that produces high quality yields and it's safe for our employees and for the downstream marketplace? Can we effectively push it through the logistics network, transportation, warehousing, etc.? And at that initial point, right when you start thinking of a new product, start thinking about returns and reverse logistics. You don't wait until you buy raw materials, build the product, ship it out, and then a customer calls and says, I want to return a part. Oh, we never thought about returns. Right up front, we should think of all these things. Piece of trivia, Amazon. Wow, $1 trillion company, give or take a few million. Yeah. They almost went out of business in their first couple years. because they couldn't handle returns. It never occurred to them. It never occurred to them that they might have to send a product back upstream. So from initial product concept, you think about the entire end-to-end forward supply chain, reverse supply chain throughout the product life cycle. All of these things are done up front. This is what's known as concurrent engineering. All right, now we're going to talk about a focus on reverse logistics. And I'm going to describe a reverse logistics hierarchy. In other words, you start at the top. You start at the top. The first thing you do is we try to reduce the use of any item, whether it's labor hours, whether it's material, energy, space, cash, whatever it is, whatever that resource is, reduce the use of a resource. Then we seek to be able to reuse any item. And we also wish to recycle. And I want to make sure I clarify a distinction here between reuse and recycle. So let us say I have a piece of paper, I write some notes or print out something on one side. Well, then I turn it over, feed it back through my printer, or I am very much into taking documents that I don't need anymore. I don't shred them. I turn it over and I use the blank side for keeping grocery lists or taking notes or things. So that's reuse. You use one side of a piece of paper, turn it over, you use the other side. That's reuse. Recycle, well, Wednesdays, man, good thing I'm doing this presentation today. Later tonight, I'll be putting my garbage and recyclables out on the street curb. Recycle means that paper goes back to a manufacturer. It's decomposed back down to wood pulp or that stage and goes back in. Think about this with cars. Remanufactured starters or batteries. All right, so reuse means pretty much as original condition. You might have to clean it up. You might need to replace a couple of small components, clean it up a little, but it's basically the same item used the same way. Recycle, it's melted or decomposed or something and becomes another product. So that is the distinction. So clearly reuse is easier, requires less resources. After we've done that, and again, it's in order, reduce, reuse, recycle. Now, recover any energy you can, perhaps through an incineration process. And the last one, only if necessary, is responsible disposal in a landfill. And what I'd like to appreciate is how over time, some examples I've seen where historically something was a waste product and ultimately it became a byproduct or a co-product or some new product. Let me share this. The example of chicken wings that were started at the Anchor Bar on Main Street in Buffalo, New York. Maybe some of us are not aware, chicken wings used to be mainly thrown away. Chicken wings were considered food that was on the level of like cow tongue or pig's tails or pig's knuckles. Only very, very poor people ate chicken wings. Most people threw them away. Till a guy at the Anchor Bar decided to fry them up, set them on the bar with some hot sauce. Now, instead of throwing them away, what are they, $1 or more a wing? When I went to school at the University of Buffalo, most places, it was like 10 cents a wing. Some places, depending on how many you ordered, 5 cents a wing. Now it's like $1 or more. I've seen some places charging $20, and it's not even a full dozen. It's 10 wings. Something that used to get thrown out. Same thing with potato skins. Somebody said, well, instead of throwing these out, let's add some sour cream, grated cheese, chives, and bacon bits, and charge $7 for a couple of potato skins that we used to throw in the garbage. One more example. I mentioned my father was a truck driver. There was a time he was doing a run that involved picking up sawdust from a lumber mill and delivering it to a Procter & Gamble facility in Mahoopany, Pennsylvania. And my dad said, "Why are you guys buying up the sawdust?" They said, "This is where we make Pampers." Sawdust is very absorbent. It's a critical raw material that goes into disposable diapers. So anything that you used to say throw away, a waste product, convert it to a byproduct, a co-product, sell it to somebody else or find another use for it. I'd like to go to another example. As we get down, we got about 8 minutes to go here. So I got another little video to show us.
My 1,000 widgets that I ordered this morning be delivered.
We are running MRP, but it will probably take 10 or 12 weeks to deliver.
But I want all of my widgets now.
The supply chain is very tight and there are many constraints and even some part allocations. TI is like a fricking goat rodeo right now, and don't even get me started about Tyco.
But I want my widgets now. Are they ready yet?
Our materials people are working 24/7 to expedite parts. We have people in Taiwan hand carrying wafers to packaging.
Will my widgets be ready before lunch, or should I grab some sushi with my Senior Executive Director of Universal Widget Supply Chain Global Lean Nimbleness?
We have rented the space shuttle to air freight your single-sourced widget material and from the supplier in bump truck Egypt that you specified on your VL. We will have the shuttle fly from west to east across the international date line 102 beeping times so that the widgets can actually be delivered before you ordered them.
So are my widgets here yet, or should I grab that sushi and go get a quick massage? I have to give a status report to the Executive Vice President of Minute-by-Minute Revenue Tracking and important acronyms.
Your widgets arrived yesterday. We anticipated your unforecasted demand and we pipelined material in anticipation of your important widget needs.
Will they be built to the latest revision according to the ECO that will come out next week?
Yes. We rubbed some tea leaves from Tibet onto a bleeping picture of Nostradamus to determine the exact contents of your change order in advance.
Will the widgets be compliant with the Lithuanian Telecom Standard 123-FU, consistent with the deviation that I will email you from the sushi bar?
As part of our customer service improvement plan, we actually acquired the entire country of Lithuania just for you, our highly valued customer.
Oh well, that changes things. Our double Senior Executive Vice President of Risk Mitigation and Snow Cone Flavors does not allow us to sell widgets to post-Soviet bloc nations that have recently been acquired in a hostile takeover, unless it was pre-approved by our board of directors and that hot check on CSI Miami.
I will be happy to credit your account for all 1,000 beeping widgets at cost. Since we make like -12 beeping points on this piece of beep deal, we will lose much less money due to your cancellation. Thank you for the opportunity to lose money on your account, you beep-faced beep swab. I think I'm going to call up Olin King and see if he has any extra room on his bass boat in Huntsville.
All right, friends. Now let us take a look at our review. Final opportunity to think about if there are any questions that you have. Please, this is the opportunity to start sending in either questions or comments. The topics that we looked at here included, what is logistics? And I said, okay, here's your end-to-end supply chain. There's internal operations management at each company. Logistics is all the stuff between companies, all the flows of information, cash, and product, inbound and outbound. The goal, let's think of the 9 R's, the perfect order, get everything right. The barriers to lean, I humbly suggested, it's mental, it's culture. It's not going to be the technical stuff. It's whether people believe it'll work or not. We can implement lean warehousing techniques, and we can evolve from dock to stock, drop and hook, drop ship. Ultimately, to virtual warehousing. We recognize there are trade-offs. Smaller lot sizes mean more transactions. And we have a set of conflicting objectives between operations efficiency, low inventory investment, and high levels of customer service. We can think about lean material handling and storage techniques. Design your facility to facilitate flow, not to store product. And take advantage of technologies, barcoding, RFID, voice recognition systems, and a fully functional ERP systems with modules for transportation management systems, warehouse management systems, customer and supplier relationship management, etc. We're going to keep in mind the DFXs: design for procurement, design for manufacturing and assembly, design for transport, design for warehousing, and design for reverse logistics. We have a hierarchy for our reverse logistics in order seek to reduce the use of any resource, reuse items, recycle items, recover any lost energy, last opportunity, if there's still any product left, responsible disposal in a landfill. Friends, my vision is to be brave, be bold, and break barriers. That is my 2020 vision going forward into 2022.